Hello, you're watching GameSpot Daily, where we cover the top news stories in 15 or so minutes. I'm Callie. I'm joined by Michael Hyam.
I'm back.
He's back.
Yes.
You're back.
Mm-hmm.
We're happy to have you back.
I could probably talk about what I went to go see in the past 2 days, but I won't in case that breaks any NDAs.
Okay, then. We can talk about the tagline that Brad Ward on Twitter gave us, which was all the news you can handle.
All the news that we can handle, because we're the ones who have to talk about this.
I just really like that as a...
Oh, yeah.
As like, instead of like top stories in 15 minutes or
All
less,
the
just
news
doing like GameSpot Daily, where we talk about all the news you can handle.
Hey.
Only the news you can handle.
I fucks with that.
I really fuck with that.
I really do. Thank you, Brad Ward.
Anyway, let's just get started then.
Well, we watched a video before this, and we're really hyped up from watching that. We feel real good. So,
really good.
Yeah, we dropped a nice little reference there. But time to be sad, at least for me. You know, I'm real sad about this one.
Sure. Bethesda is, quote, less likely, end quote, to turn to outside studios for game development, and they reiterated support for single-player games. But break this down for me.
That's a good thing for me.
The single-player games thing is good for a lot of people, but break this down a little bit. What does less likely to turn to outside studios for game development really mean?
So I've mentioned many times on the show that Fallout New Vegas is a top 10 game of all time, and that's a fact that you can't argue with, honestly. Like, let's be real, like Fallout New Vegas. But that was developed by Obsidian, who's well known for making really in-depth RPGs. Mm-hmm. And they're the ones who made New Vegas. New Vegas is like one of my favorite games of all time. But Bethesda has grown so much since then, because New Vegas came out in 2010. And so it's been 8 years. And Bethesda, obviously, as we know, has been on the up and up and up and up. So they're so big that they don't need to turn to other studios anymore. They can do all their big projects internally. So Bethesda Game Studios head Todd Howard and Bethesda VP Pete Hines, good friends of ours. We actually, Todd and Pete are friends of GameSpot.
Oh yeah, best buddies.
Yeah, so they said to The Guardian about the possibility of an outside studio making a game for the company, like what Obsidian did with New Vegas, as I just mentioned. And Todd Howard said this.
Oh, I thought you were handing it off to me because you paused.
I wouldn't say never, but now that our company is so big, it's always better to keep stuff internal. It becomes less likely, but I could never say never. Ooh, wise man once said.
Never say never.
And that was Justin Bieber. I thought the Obsidian guys did a fabulous job.
That's very nice. But it sounds like the likelihood of that happening has just gone down with time.
Yeah, I understand.
Bethesda is a lot bigger of a company than it was during New Vegas's development. The France-based Arcane Studios was acquired in 2010. That's the same year as New Vegas's release, and Arcane had a subsidiary in Austin. Prior to that acquisition, the France studio created Dishonored, while the Austin team developed Prey from last year.
Ooh, yeah.
That very same year, Machine Games was acquired. Then Machine Games did Wolfenstein. Bethesda also opened a Montreal studio in 2015, and then Bethesda's Austin-based Battlecry Studios was rebranded as Bethesda Game Studios Austin, and that became a part of Bethesda Game Studios. So yeah, they're a lot bigger. That was just a list of things that makes them big. Bethesda Game Studios Austin is now working on Fallout 76.
That hot Bethesda lore right there for your ass. But
because you know they're good at lore.
Yeah. But this has me thinking that maybe it's not so bad, like, because they have so many different studios under their umbrella now that it's like, oh, we're going to keep things internal, as in all these different studios that we already work with. Because, like, you know, like Machine Games did an incredible job with Wolfenstein's reboot, I suppose.
Oh, fantastic job.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think Machine Games really knocked that one out of the park, in my opinion.
And Arcane, like, yo,
dude, Prey's dope.
Prey is dope. Dishonored is dope. Those games are fire. And I absolutely love those games.
Nice timing with the B-roll.
Yeah. That was not planned. But yeah, I mean, I'm being a little cheeky when I say that, like, oh, Obsidian's not going to be in the mix for, like, a New Vegas tour or whatever other projects Bethesda may have in the future. But, you know, I would trust, like, Bethesda's track record is incredible with creating all of these different games. And they, like we said, they've only gotten bigger. They've only acquired more, like, diversity in terms of what studios can do. So I'm not terribly sad about it. But, man, Obsidian and New Vegas is something else.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Oh yeah, so they're another part of the story is their continued commitment to single player games.
Yes. So in that same interview with The Guardian, Todd Howard and Pete Hines said that while the industry is focusing more on multiplayer experiences, Bethesda is dedicated to single player. So Pete Hines said, quote, Rage 2 is a giant single-player game. The next Doom game, Doom Eternal, is single-player, and Wolfenstein Youngblood is single-player. Single-player is still a thing. It might continue to grow or evolve, but it's part of who we are, and we still think there's room to be successful. That doesn't mean we should keep doing things the way we did 5 or 10 years ago. We've got to continue to change how we approach it.
Yeah, and they're obviously like all those games that Pete Hines mentioned. Those are games we're looking very much forward to, and they're Rage 2. I'm interested in how Rage 2 turns out, and
yeah. I'm not. Nothing has gotten me excited for Rage 2 yet. There's a little bit about the shooting that I found intriguing because it does have kind of the id Software.
It's definitely got
feel
that vibe
to it. But I don't like the tone from what I've seen.
I mean, and if you're into that, that's cool. If you're not, that's cool too. I did play it at E3, and I was like, I want to see how the open world plays out because that sequence I did play, I was like, oh, okay, they're taking a lot of things from Doom. This feels good. I don't know if I'm going to be invested in this world, which is very much a big part of Fallout and Elder Scrolls is being invested in that world and what happens in it. So maybe they can pull it off. But so I'm not tripping that Fallout 76 in particular is multiplayer focused because like we mentioned, so many good single player games coming out of Bethesda. Or exciting games, I would say, because they're not out yet, so I can't say that they're wonderful quite yet.
Yeah, but games we are excited for sure. All right, moving on, and this actually ties into something that's happening later today, which we failed to shout out last week. But really quick plug: we have a new live stream show called Grave Hoppers. That our boys Mike Mahardy and Rob Handlery do.
Very good show
with permadeath and. Interestingly, Ghost Recon Wildlands copped their style, and Season 2 adds permadeath, among other things.
We got a mole in the GameSpot office.
Yeah. If you're interested in Grave Hoppers, it's at 2 p.m. PT. Today, every Thursday. They're doing episode 2 today, so check that out. We'll talk about Ghost Recon Wildlands now.
Sure.
Special Operations 2 is a free update for Wildlands. It's coming July 24th for Season 2 pass holders, July 31st for everyone else. And the biggest addition is a new PvE experience called Ghost Mode.
Ghost Mode. This is the mode that has permadeath. If you're not revived after being down, your progress is gone, yo.
Bye.
Oh my god. And only allows one main weapon and a handgun to be wielded. And you can only switch weapons at an ammo box or by looting enemies. And reload is reloading a partially used clip. Well, you'll lose those unused bullets in that clip. Like, I'm surprised more games don't do that. Like, that's a thing. But yeah, in this mode in particular, that will happen. And friendly fire is turned on, and you can completely go completely solo, even without AI teammates in Ghost mode. Wow, this sounds tight.
It sounds intense. I really do want to touch on the unused bullets thing though, really quickly. I like when futuristic games don't lose the unused bullets. Like Destiny, you keep the bullets because that makes sense. It's like space weapons, but it does feel weird if you're playing in a more hardcore. Wow, I just ended up saying whore on accident. Hardcore mode. It doesn't make sense to keep the unused bullets from a previous clip.
Just
so,
like you said, space weapons are different.
Space weapons versus ground weapons. Anyway,
what was that one thing you don't take your romantic partner on a kill mission?
Don't take your romantic friend on a kill mission is something I said on this show.
It's wise words.
Yeah. So that's pretty intense. Ghost War is also getting updated. Ghost War is the game's PvP mode. It'll have 2 new classes and new maps, including a snowy area. I love a good snow map. New spectator feature letting you observe matches in a free-moving camera. It adds a new progress bar for tracking your rank in the current league, a new post-match screen showing the winning team, and social features like emotes, voice lines, victory poses.
Hey, when I gun down an entire squad, I want to be able to dab on their ass. No,
I mean, that's just reasonable. Those things are also being added to single player, though.
Yo, it's 2018. Cool. When I wipe a squad, I dab on them. That's just how it be. No, I don't do that.
No, that's more 2016.
Anyway. It's fine.
It's all good.
Yeah, so Ghost Recon, again, one of Ubisoft's games that they're continually supporting and adding new features. I think this Ghost mode in particular that's something. I'm interested in that. I'll play that.
Yeah. All right. Wait, is it called Ghost Mode?
Ghost
Oh yeah,
Mode.
Ghost Mode versus Ghost War.
Yeah, Ghost
I
War
was
is a
getting
separate
confused,
thing.
and I was also getting Ghost World in my head, like the comic. But never mind. All right, moving on. Whatever. We've talked about the Bethesda stuff. We've talked about
This game has ghosts.
Ghost Recon. Now we're talking about. Yeah, it does actually.
In a way.
Yeah. Don't expect The Witness on Switch.
The Litness.
Creator Jonathan Blow told Eurogamer that there are currently no plans to port the game to Switch, but he didn't say it would never happen.
No.
Blow's team's pretty busy, so an outside team would have to handle that port.
Yeah.
I really like The Witness. I think it's really good.
The Witness is an incredible game, an incredibly difficult game.
It's really hard. I still
My
haven't
head
beaten
hurts.
the challenge.
Oh yeah.
I have attempted the challenge so many times.
This is this would be I would say this would be a good game to have on Switch. And I talked to Jonathan Blow last year when the mobile version came out. So it came out on iOS. And I talked to him I asked, we're always like asking about Switch ports. That is like standard procedure when we have interviews with developers.
Yeah.
Sorry if you're a developer and we ask you about a Switch port that's not coming. But I asked him, I was like, would this come to Switch? You did the work for the iOS version. So I imagine if you could make that happen, it's within the realm of possibility that it would come to Switch. And at the time, this was September in 2017. He was like, we don't have any plans yet. But kind of the same thing, like never say never.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a theme of today's show. It's never say never.
That is the theme of today's show. Thank you, Justin Bieber.
Yeah, and that is exactly what he said to Eurogamer. I guess he said this to them recently, yesterday maybe. But yeah, he continued to say, but we worked on that game for a long time. We could have done more ports, but it felt like it was a good idea to give the team a break and work on some new things.
He also said, quote, "We're working on new projects now. We're not really working on ports of The Witness, but that could change. Something could happen. We could outsource it and quality control in-house, but we're not currently doing anything."
Yes. So if you're not familiar, The Witness launched on PS4 and PC back in 2016. It was actually 9th place on GameSpot's Best Games of 2016.
Yeah, I would call it one of the best games of 2016.
Yeah. Then, like I said, it came out on iOS last year. Yeah, and then I also asked about let's bring Braid to the Switch, and he was like, we're also not doing, we don't have any plans for that. I'm like, all right, I get it. But also like for him saying like, oh, we want to move on to new things. I definitely understand that for a dev team. They don't want to be stuck in their own these games that they already developed for a long time. But there's a lot of ways you can play The Witness, a lot of ways you can play Braid. So if you haven't played those, I would highly suggest you play them.
You know which puzzle I never quite got the hang of was the triangle ones. I'm not really sure what that means, the triangles. Because like in The Witness, you're not given the instructions. You have to figure out through trial and error. And I have just not... Oh, this is stressing me out so much because I can see the solution.
Let's not look at that.
I know, I can't look at that video anymore. But it doesn't tell you like, oh, when it's, this kind of shape, you have to make the shape with your, but like the triangle one, I never quite figured out what it meant.
Oh, no.
And I don't think I ever Googled it. I just kind of got lucky. So anyway.
Yeah, this game is if you want to exercise your brain, it's quite the game. So.
I'm going to turn this off of this screen.
Yeah, no, it's very distracting
to
watch other people do puzzles.
Anyway, Jonathan Blow's team is working on a new game codenamed Sokoban. Sokoban is a type of Japanese puzzle in which you slide boxes over a switch or a hole. Blow says, "It's weird. It's a level-based game. There's a lot of levels. We have a lot more levels than we had last year."
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, this is in early development, so I imagine he doesn't have that much to say about it. But Jonathan Blow back at it with the puzzle games. Oh boy, he's always our heads is hurting just
quite
watching.
a puzzler. Yep. All
oh
right.
yeah. Well,
that's about all we have today.
That's all the news that we can handle.
That is all the news that we can handle, unless you want to look up the sarcophagus thing. It's pretty gross.
Oh, you wanted to talk about that.
I did want to just mention really quickly that they found that giant sarcophagus in Egypt, and they just opened it. I read the Guardian story about it, because we did talk about the Guardian earlier, but I read the Guardian story. Apparently, there's 3 mummies inside, but they look like skeletons because they were decomposed because the sarcophagus was filled with sewage water. Super gross. Super gross. Bone soup, yeah. Ugh. So, yeah, not for the squeamish, but...
Damn. That's,
anyway.
Yeah, if y'all want to go to the Bone Zone, go check out that story.
I wouldn't call it that. Anyway.
Bone soup.
Check out Gravehoppers at 2 p.m. PT today, live on GameSpot, Twitch, YouTube.
Oh, such a good show.
Where
I love it.
Mike and Rob will be playing things, and if they die, they just got to move on to another game.
Permadeath in games that don't have permadeath. Watch the first episode. Rob really screwed things up in Far Cry 5.
Bung the boost on that one.
Oh, boy.
Anyway,
Mike is playing Doom now. They're on to Doom
on
2016, and Mike is going to be playing that on the hardest difficulty that they can choose. So tune in for that, 2 p.m. Pacific time.
All right. We will see you tomorrow. Thank you to Matt Padgett and Tony Wilson for the notes. Thank you to Eric Tay for setting us up. Thanks to Tam and Chris Pereira. And thank you for watching.
Of course.
We will see you tomorrow.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.